All right, so listen, as we continue on, we're about to say the correctional officer's creed. Now, remember, you know what I'm saying. Anything that I share with you, I'm not teaching you nothing. You know what I'm saying. In order for me to teach anybody anything, you would have to sign up for like. Only time I teach is when I teach through school.com. But I teach a little bit like a basics of martial arts. Not really martial arts, more so just general self defense knowledge. But I mostly teach like book knowledge, awareness, just entry level, just fundamentals of just general knowing your surroundings. Um, just the same stuff that I learned. But what I'm showing you right now is this is the diary of a law student. Okay, so this is my personal diary, my journal, what I'm doing, so that I can be the best security guard that I can be, the best bodyguard that I can be, um, whatever I'm doing. You already know what it is. All right. But I'm about to say my creed, my correctional officer's creed, because I'm training to one day join Correctional Officer Academy or Police Academy or Firefighter Academy. So when I join Correctional Officer Academy, whenever that is, or when I join Police Academy, Citizens Academy, whenever that is, they're going to teach me, their way. You know what I'm saying? And if I pass that way, then maybe I'll get a job through them. But for now, I train for myself because, you know, I police myself, I secure myself as a security outfit and as a forensics detail, for different LLCs that I have as an independent contractor, okay? But number one, you know what I'm saying, when I say my creed, you know what I'm saying, I hold my cuffs in the air, okay? Because, naturally, you're gonna take your cuffs out, okay? And you're gonna use them. You're gonna use them when? You're gonna use them as a security guard, all right? You're gonna use them as a security officer. And if you excel far enough to join Correctional Officer Academy, they're gonna teach you, okay, how to use it in order for you to work for them, okay? And I want to work for a department eventually, but listen, if you have some of you are lucky, all right? And really I say blessed and highly favored in the Lord because, you know what I'm saying, you go to a dojo, they might teach you how to use these. Maybe your sensei is a police officer. Maybe your sensei is a security guard. Maybe your sensei is your dad. Maybe your sensei is your grandpa. Maybe your sensei is your uncle. So they could do it like that. You know what I'm saying? Now, I would never actually teach anybody. I'm never going to teach anybody cuffs unless they sign a waiver. I would never teach anybody how to use cuffs virtually. I would never teach anybody how to use a baton virtually. I would never teach them how to use a taser or anything that I'm certified, in the fundamentals of for use for myself. I'm certified to use cuffs. I'm certified to use an expandable baton. I'm certified to use of force. You know what I'm saying? I'm certified to use a taser. I'm certified to use a lot of things, but that doesn't mean I'm certified to teach those things or I'm licensed to teach them things. I never said that. That's what you said. I'm certified to use it when it comes to emergency for myself, okay? But teaching it, that's a whole other thing. So when I teach self-defense or when I teach something like, let's say if one day I want to assume the liability of hiring an employee for American Muscle Security, all right? Because if you're working with my forensics outfit, you don't really need cuffs. These are for security, okay? So if you see me with cuffs, just know I'm securing myself. I may be doing forensics work, but I gotta protect my forensics tools, all right? As a security guard, I wear a couple hats, right? But I don't have any employees. Nobody works for me. I work for myself. I'm only gonna hire people after I graduate, all right? So let's say you wanna study with me, you can learn along with me, and that's why I encourage you to take these classes so you don't have to guess, well, where did you learn that from? You're studying under the same professor. You don't remember chapter this, all right? Well, what about this and that? We're training in the same gym. You don't remember when the coach taught you this? You don't remember when the dojo that we went to taught you that? Oh, yeah, I do remember. Okay, yeah, so now it's not somebody holding me in regard or me holding them. It's whoever's teaching us and us both, staying in camaraderie and clinging to, these higher educations that of experience, okay? But I'm just showing you what I train day in and day out, because you know what I'm saying, this is, you know, this is what I do. This is how I keep track of my progress. So in rewind and retrospect, when I graduate on my graduation date, I'm gonna look back with my, you know what I'm saying, my future employees or my future student organization partners, you know what I'm saying, my future business partners, my friends, you know, my family, anybody that's interested in this and being a security guard or whatever. Like, wow, you really progressed. I remember when, you know what I'm saying, how good you were after practicing your first class. So, you know, or passing your first class. So when you pass a class, you know what I'm saying? I'm not advising you to get a pair of handcuffs. I'm not advising you to start your own security company. I'm not advising you to do anything. This is what's known as you know, a school journal. You know what I'm saying? So captain's log. Okay. So basically, the most important part is saying the creed and knowing. You know what I'm saying? What I'm embracing, what I'm preparing to do, not just as a correctional officer, but as a security guard. All right. And you know, we'll go further. But before we even go into that, I just had to let you know that, you know, I'm not teaching anything. Kids, don't try this at home. Um, I'm certified to, you know, to train and use these if must. You know what I'm saying? Contractually based, not just randomly. You know what I'm saying? As a security guard, but mostly, this is not to. I never use these to. First off, I would never do it, but you, I'm advising you, if you're out there interested in being a security guard or whatever, if you go that step, if you actually pass a class or two, and you feel, you know, confident enough, you know, I also advise you. You know, I've been doing self-defense my whole life. I started taking martial arts when I was 8 years old. I've been boxing since 2015. I don't know if you can count, but that's 9 years ago. Okay, so but long story short, I've been a wrestler all my life. You know, I started wrestling when I was third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade. You know, I got a lot of years of wrestling. You know what I'm saying? I took a break, but I've been in shape for a while. You know what I'm saying? The most important thing, first off, when it comes to cuffs, right? It's not all about, you know, you think, oh yeah, it's easy. You know what I'm saying? You know, I could just cuff somebody real quick. It's not easy. First off, you have to have the legs for this shit. You know what I'm saying? Even though you cuff somebody by using your hands and your upper body strength, a lot of it is leg. Okay? You got to be grounded. You got to be grounded physically, mentally, emotionally. You got to be grounded. You got to be aware of your surroundings, and you have to know the rules. You have to know your state statutes, all of that. You have to know the rules, and you really, mostly what it comes down to it is have jurisdiction over mostly everything. I said jurisdiction over mostly everything. Okay? Because here's what I'm saying. If you don't have anywhere to detain somebody, it makes no sense putting them in cuffs. If you don't have a squad car where you can take them to jail, you're only doing a shoekeeper's arrest or whatever, a citizen's arrest. You have to let them out whenever the police come. And whenever you call them, you have to call them by radio, or you're calling them from a phone. And when you call them from a phone, if you call the department or if you call 911, they're going to treat you as a regular, you know, citizen, not a civilian or not anybody, you know, who's a sworn officer or even a non-sworn officer, because you're not directly calling them or paging them or radioing them. And you're saying, how would you do that if you don't work for a department? It's very simple. If you work with a detective that takes you on as a ride along, or some form of apprentice or an internship, whether it's a paid internship, or if they agree to employ you for a seasonal gig, so you can learn as you go, and they can pick them, if they authorize it for whatever reason, because, you know, stranger things have happened. If they say it's okay, it's okay, right? But when you're working with, they're usually going to be on the scene or somewhere very close by. You know what I mean? You're working for a detective, right? I'm not, but I'm just saying if you are, right? then you call them and they come, you're working with them and they pick them up, right? But what are you going to do? You're going to hold them in place with what? With a whoopee cushion? You got handcuffs, but how are they going to comply? How are they just going to stand still until a detective shows up? How's that going to work out? Because things work in a chain of command. Whether you're working with a detective or a department, everything works in a chain of command. So it's really at your own risk. You know what I'm saying? They have to get there fast enough, and they say, okay, well, so take them out, or give me your keys so I can take them out and put them in my cuffs, or whatever, or whatever it is, whatever the agreement is, it's going to be all worked out beforehand. It's not going to be like, oh, what do we do now? Whenever they showed up. And no, because we're always at all times under the all-seeing eye of, police officers, nearby troopers, sergeants, EMT, paramedics, firefighters, people that are judges that you don't know, court officials, clerks, bailiffs that are off duty. You never know who's just standing there. Like, yo, some guy just randomly shoekeeper arrested somebody. Like, this is going to be funny. Because you got to, you know what I mean? You can't hurt them. So number one, it can't be too tight. They can't turn, accidentally fall, break their wrists, run. It could cause somebody hyperventilate. Some people, you know what I mean? So, mostly, like, really, the only real reason that I see you might actually have to use your cuffs is if you're actually working for a security company, right? Where the security company itself has a policy where you're covered. You never heard of this, but it's called business insurance, right? And they work with the police. Like, there's a protocol. Like, it can't be some random Hail Mary shit, okay? So either you work for a security company, right? Not your own, unless you literally work with a detective or somebody that literally has a car that's going to transport them. You don't cuff just to cuff, okay? You don't, okay? You cuff because somebody's either going to go to jail, or the only other instance is if somebody is going to, they have a firearm. You know what I'm saying? And there's no, and they're going crazy. They're like at a party, and you're like a security guard or a bodyguard, and they're about to let off shots. So you have to disarm the person if you're that Billy badass, right? But if your client, if you have a written contract that says it's your job to keep this person from getting away, right? Because I hired you to do that, or whatsoever it is, just whatever the scenarios are. I don't have time to think of all these scenarios for everybody. You know what I'm saying? This is just basic. If you don't get it, you don't get it. If you get it, you get it. All right? I know you guys have eyeballs. I know you've seen security guards with handcuffs before, even unarmed security guards. But it's still a liability in my eyes, right? So it's for emergency, like the most worst thing that could ever happen, right? Okay, so that, or if you're advised by either a detective who like already graduated police academy. In other words, somebody is sworn. A detective, a law enforcement officer, or a client that literally is probably like, a prima facie, or whatever this shit is called, a friend of the court. In other words, somebody that is not even a sovereign citizen, not at all, but somebody that can say, okay, man, I have a contract with this person. I allow them to do it. It's on my property, and there's a place right here to keep the person. It's a nightclub, or it's a whatever it is. You gotta have full coverage. You gotta have AAA on this mother scrubber, okay? So that's what it is. So if it's like that, like that. Otherwise, you're taking a risk yourself. But mostly why most people train with cuffs is because when you get certified, because this is what it is. Police Academy, even though it's like whatever, 15 weeks, however many weeks, you think, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to get it. I have all the time in the world. Meanwhile, dads that know that been through this before, grandpas that know that been through this before, uncles that know, big brothers that know, just mentors, professors, people that know, they say, hey, yo, listen, you really want to do this shit. You know, sometimes you're just chilling, you're in high school, all right, or you're in college, you know what I'm saying? No, let's take it to high school, right? Even junior high, you're young, right? Hey, you really want to do this? I see you, you know what I'm saying? You're in the backyard playing cops with your friend Warboy. You really want to do this? Listen, man. When you got time, when you're not playing G.I. Joes or, you know, at the sand lot trading baseball cards with your friends and them over there, right? Listen, I'm going to teach you a little bit how to use these. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, oh, where'd you get that? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, well, but little did you know, because not everybody is going to come out, hey, yeah, I'm a vet. Because if you just tell people that you're a vet, everybody wants you to be their big brother or their mentor or teach them something you know. And it's not for everybody to know because they're going to use it for the wrong reason. They're going to use it to impress a girl. They're going to use it to try and show people that have been bullying them, you can't mess with me now, I got a vest and a pair of cuffs type shit. Okay? But they're going to teach you on some Mr. Miyagi and Danielson, okay? Listen, I know you want to hold them, but not today. I got to really see, I gotta really feel that you're for the call of duty and not the call of booty right now. You got to, you know what I'm saying? There's a time to answer one, there's a time to answer the other. I really got to know you're not going to get these cuffs and turn around and not go to police academy. You're really going to go all the way through. So keep on waxing off and keep on waxing on and keep on doing the push-ups and join the wrestling team, because what it really comes down to is wrestling. You know what I'm saying? But not harming a hair on a person's head, because they're always going to complain, oh, you heard me, I ain't did that, it was because I was black, it was because I was fat as a woman, da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, sometimes it is racism, sometimes it is sexism, sometimes it is this and that. But at the end of the day, when you're a police officer or whenever you're a correctional officer or a bodyguard, these are hands-on jobs. At the end of the day, you got to wrestle a person down. And what it really comes down to is not body weight. It's grappling. In other words, grip. Grip-ling. Okay? Grip-ling. Okay? You just grip them. Okay? And, you know, you book them down. You know what I'm saying? If you can book them down, if you can't book them down, I don't know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? But it's to prepare for police academy. It's to prepare for getting a job as a security guard. Because I will be damned, right? Everything is a process, right? Let me ask you a question. How many of you guys out there in this virtual session right now joined the football team in high school and you never had a male role model, right? And it's okay because a lot of us never had male role models. But is it your fault that you didn't look? Or when somebody was saying, hey man, you ever think about being a cop? Or someone say, hey man, you want to lift? You want to study? That you never answered the call? Okay? Trust me, man. I answered the call early on and I did this shit. You know, I became a University of Police auxiliary police officer. But I stopped from learning how to use I learned how to use a walkie-talkie, a whistle. I learned how to do traffic duty. I learned how to do basic stuff. But I never said, you know what? All right, you know what I want to do, boss? I want to go to police academy. They probably, oh shit. Not just for me, for anybody, because not everybody said that. A lot of people are like, yo, I quit. You know, thank you. I'm here for my last check. I'm going to put my 2 weeks notice in. I don't really, you know, it's fun being an auxiliary officer, but hasta luego. But how many of you guys, you joined the football team, right? And nobody ever played catch with you as a kid. Trust me, I know. I was one of those kids, you know, listen. I not only played football, I not only wrestled, I played baseball. So there was times, believe it or not, when my dad did play catch. But my dad, he traveled a lot, right? So a lot of times he wasn't there. So what my baseball coach told me, when your dad's not there, or when your friends are busy playing catch with their dad, and you're mad, grin and bear it, all right? Get a tennis ball. You live in that apartment over there on that one street, don't you? The duplex with the, you know, it's all brick, right? All right, so listen. I know you're always jealous of those friends with the house with the nice siding and all that and the picket fence. But even though your house is brick and it looks like a project, you know, throw it to the side, of your house. That's perfect. You don't got to go to the park. You don't got to do it off the side of a store so, you can get in trouble. Throw it off the side of your house. And my coach might have told me that. Even my pop might have told me that. I forgot. Somebody in my family might have told me that. A brother might have told me that. Somebody might have told me that. Hey, look, I can't always be there with you, but you know what I used to do when Pop wasn't here, or my dad. You know what I did when Grandpa couldn't do it with me. I throw the ball on the side and it bounces back and I catch it. That's what a lot of whether you come from the suburbs or from the hood, you know what that's like. You guys seen above the rim, right? That guy was playing basketball by himself the whole time, and he was pissed off. He had the attitude of a young Allen Iverson. So did I. But then one day he found somebody to actually say, hey, look, man, life is not like that. It's really not that bad. In the beginning, you got curved, but there's people that's not curving you. You see this person over there? Angel in the outfield. You see that person over there? Hills have eyes. You see these people over there? Wrong Devil's Rejects. You see these people over there? Yeah, those are the right wise guys, right? So basically, join them. I know they don't talk the slang. They can't chuck and jive with you. They're not going to high five you after you slam dunk the ball. They're just going to go to the other side and play defense. But maybe basketball isn't all like that. At least you have somebody so you can have 3-on-3 instead of 1-on-1, and you playing yourself, or you trying to take on the whole team by yourself and everybody's laughing at you because they're not going to play until you get some team members. So listen, this is what my point is, right? Even before you find somebody to train with and cuff train with or wrestle with or do whatever you with, I would never cuff train with anybody unless it's a sensei or a mentor. And you just got to sign a waiver with me because I'm not going to jail or paying your hospital bills. I'm not doing that. I'm just chalk it up as I'm waiting until I graduate. Straight like that. And not just, for joke or for show. This is really, I've had cuffs, not these same cuffs, but the same company cuffs. I got it from the same company. I bought it for like what? Since I started my my LLC, my security. So that's what I'm gonna say. It's like about 4 years now. When I first came up here, I had cuffs. I never used them one time. There was one time on the south side, some dude, he really was pushing my buttons. I sat on top of him after I took him down with a wrestling move, okay, without hurting him. He was a drunk, a whiner, right? And I was literally, I had his hands like this together, and I was on top of him, and I had my cuff right here, and I was literally like, listen, if you do not leave me alone, because all he wanted to do was, I think he wanted my MacBook or something like that. If you do not leave me alone, it's going to go that way, right? Are you done? He's like, yeah, I agree, you got me. Are you done? He's like, yeah. And I was like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? Luckily, there was somebody there watching. They're like, all right, yeah, man. Listen, man, I know you really want to cuff him, but listen, you know the drill, dog. Like, you're a security guard right now. Like, I believe you. Like, you correspond with people. But this fool, he got more people on his side than you. I would just let the slimy bastard go. So I just let him go. But he knew who was boss when I was sitting on top of his chest, and my cuffs were to his wrist just like that. And all I had to do was click it together just like that. Okay? So listen, but the point of what I'm saying is, you want to be ready for when you go to police academy, because nobody's going to let their son, nobody's going to let their cousin, their brother, their frat brother, their best friend go to football camp to try and make it to play college ball without training with them every day. If you can't find a partner, you train yourself, right? Police academy is fast. If you wait till the last minute, you're going to fail. So you get down as many fundamentals as you can when you learn it in school. That's what people go to ROTC for. It's the same thing with police academy. That's what we go to law school for. Even if it's technical school, you get the books down, and then you go in the gym with those guys. But before you wrestle police officers and your fellow recruits, I hope you're wrestling somebody, or you are going to fail. Okay? So you don't cuff anybody, you cuff the air, but mostly it's timing. And mostly you do this so much that you don't want to use it on somebody. You get used to the sound, you get used to the timing, you get used to, whatever you're learning. Learn from somebody and practice. There's a lot of people, I'm not going to tell you everything, they get a dummy, like a mannequin, and they practice literally with a mannequin, right? There's more than one way to skin a cat, all right? So I said the most, right? Do you got it? Kids never try this at home. And what is this for? This is so you train so you could get it down in theory and practice. But whenever it comes down to the come down, it's not a permit no more. You're sworn in after you graduate police academy, or even, let's say, you start working for Allied Universal. Believe it or not, some companies might teach you how to use these on the job, right? You're going to be ready, and the boss is not going to say, you know what, man? I don't think you're ready for this. I think you should try McDonald's. All right? Cool. All right, so let's swear in. I hereby pledge to speak sparingly, to act not to argue, to be an authority through personal presence, to correct without nagging, to speak with the calm voice of certainty, to see everything, to know what is significant and what not to notice, to be neither insensitive to distress nor so distracted by pity as to miss what must elsewhere be seen, to do neither that which is unkind nor self-indulgent in its misplaced charity, never to obey the impulse to tongue lash that silent insolence which in times past could receive the lash, to be both firm and fair, to know I cannot be fair simply by being firm, nor firm simply by being fair. If you heard everything that I just said, that's the first two paragraphs of this correctional officer's creed, then everything I said prior to that is going to make sense, because I'm literally repeating myself. But in these words: to support the reputation of associates, to confront them without anger, should they stand short of professional conduct, to reach for the knowledge of continuing mysteries of human motivation, to think, always to think, to be dependable first to my charges and associates, thereafter my duty as employee and citizen, to keep fit, to keep forever alert, to listen to what is meant as well as what is said with words and with silences, in theory and in practice, to expect respect from my charges and my superiors, yet never to abuse the one for abuses from the other, for 8 hours each working day, to be an example of the person I could be at all times, to acquiesce and notice honest act, to cultivate patience under boredom and calm during confusion, to understand the why of every order I take or give, to hold freedom among the highest values, though I deny it to those I guard, to deny it with dignity, that in my example they find no reason to lose their dignity, right? So, fundamentally, every time we practice to not, embarrass somebody, not disgrace somebody, not to treat them like an animal, not to treat them like a property, to save them from harming themselves, right? Even as a security guard, okay? Okay. To be prompt, dignity, that in my example they find a reason to lose their dignity. To be prompt, to be honest with all who practice deceit, that they not find in me excuse for themselves. Okay? Excuse for themselves. To privately face down my fear, that I not signal it. To privately cool my anger, that I not displace it on others. Okay? So like I said, we train every day so you're not mad when you use this. So you're not too, quick. Maybe it's, what I'm saying, and believe it or not, even as a security guard, you have a partner right there to keep you accountable. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully you have a body cam. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, a judge is going to look at it. Believe it or not, every time, a law enforcement officer makes an arrest, they're wearing a body cam, they're judged on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're judged on it. Every single time a law enforcement officer makes arrest, they're judged on it. And the body cam, like it's impossible to turn off. You think you can turn it off, it just goes into sleep mode. All right. To privately cool my anger that I not displace it on others. To hold in confidence what I see and what I hear. To hold in confidence what I see and what I hear, which by the telling could harm or humiliate to no good purpose, which by the using could harm or humiliate yourself to no good purpose. To keep my outside problems, to leave inside that which should stay inside. To keep it here until it's emergency or your boss says so. To do your duty. Bob Barrington. Rikers JATCS. Entrance hall features a 1995 mural of the Correctional Officers' Creed authored by the late Professor Robert Barrington of North Michigan University. The creed was widely distributed by the International Association of Correctional Officers. The above New York Correction History Society Recreation uses the antique scroll from an image of the inmate painted mural to frame the text that has been adapted by various correctional agencies. And this is what I do, you know what I'm saying? Put my cuffs on my heart, you know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying, like, you know, this is just what I do. I might implement it, you know, in my training group, not now when I graduate. So, oh my God, Donnie's training people how to use cuffs. I think we should have a heart attack. I think you should join Police Academy, because somebody's gonna do it. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I love my flag, my beautiful flag, my shiny red, white, and blue. I love my flag, my beautiful flag, my shiny red, white, and blue. All right? I'm ready to serve. So if you're ready to serve, let's train how to serve. Because how you train at home when you get a study buddy, a lifting partner, okay, to spot you, okay, a frat brother, okay, you know, I don't know what you call, you know, your crew, but when you go and do what guys do, a man cave buddy, right? What we do in our man cave is what we do when we get to Police Academy, or we're gonna fail and we're gonna hang our heads on the field. All right? Fund the police.